Same parents. 7 came from that country, the former Soviet Union, Ukraine, Kiev specifically, and 6 more were born here. I know what it's like to be raised in a unit. I know what it's like to have a village around me. Because on the days that you're weaker, on the days that you're struggling with something, it was a rough day, something or a sequence of events happened and it was just tough. You know that you can come back into the beehive and the wall kind of closes in around you and you can recover while someone's out there watching your back. You see, what we are doing is we are rebuilding God's family.
Come on.
We are not starting another church with 4 walls.
No.
We are rebuilding God's family that doesn't ask you what belief you have.
Yeah.
That doesn't ask you how you understand this particular portion of the scripture. We just love you.
Yeah. Yes.
We're true here, and we just love you.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ is center, and He is King.
Yes.
And my ignorance is not going to stop anybody from being part of this family. You see, there's no weapon against that. There is actually no weapon against that. Yes, I have emotions. Yes, I have certain things that I come in contact with, and sometimes people can frustrate you. It happens. Come on, it's human, right? But in the end, God melts your heart, and you come right back. And they can't win against that. What we are doing is we are rebuilding that village.
That's right.
I'm not talking about Hillary Clinton saying we need a village to raise a family. We know what her village looks like straight up. Out in Haiti and the little children who disappear and never make it out, right? I'm not talking about the government village that preys on families and separates families. I'm not talking about that village either.
No.
There is a way to actually defund the criminal act of those in government who create problems, prostitute families. They pull fathers into prisons. They put mothers on welfare systems and say that is help. How is that help when you're giving them crumbs? And 30% of our single family households, specifically women, are living in poverty. I bore that shame for a while when I finally realized that it wasn't my pastor's job to go and say yes to heaven.
Come on, man.
I realized it was my responsibility. When I took that responsibility, everything began to change. Because see, then I began to pray on my knees, and I was crying out, groaning, saying, God, why do I keep going to these funerals of boys and girls who keep committing suicide? You see, it became personal. And when that becomes personal, you begin to think bigger. You don't just say, God, thank you for my family not committing suicide.
Right.
When you take that kind of responsibility, everyone becomes one of you.
Yeah.
And you see what we are preparing a fearless group of men
Come on.
and women
That's right.
that are going to go and plunder hell in your neighborhood. I promise you, I will explain exactly what that looks like. I will explain exactly what that looks like. Because see, we've been sending people on to mission fields. I'm not going to say anything about those mission fields. Thank you for doing that. But we left the mission field at home.
Yeah.
We left the mission field in the heart,
Yeah.
personal heart.
Yeah.
We left the mission field in the family. I'm not speaking from a place of I've made it. I'm a human.
Yeah.
But as God crushes my heart, I go back on my knees and I say, Lord, how? These children are suffering. These families are suffering. They're crying. There is a wedge driven between your sons and daughters and you. You know that. You know who's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The devil, right? But he uses people.
Yeah.
He uses people, and he uses a corrupt criminal agenda to drive a wedge between you and your children. And God forbid, right? You do something, meaning to correct it, to try to figure something out. They then say, oh, by the way, if your parent ever tries to discipline you, we're here. We'll help. We'll throw you in the foster system. They don't say that. They say it a little smoother, right? We'll set you free from your parents. You see, that's what's really happening. So they're driving wedges between you and your children.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not saying we have figured this out, therefore that's why we started this training. We're saying, hey, we're rebuilding the village.
That's right.
We're rebuilding the village where you do what you do well. And we will come alongside and we will help them strengthen in areas where they need to grow, where you wanted but you didn't maybe have time. You see, when we start the meat grinder with the next class, what your sons have just went through, it's a purpose for it. The military has figured that out well. The military, by the way, does many things well. They're a great logistical organization. They also know how to take all kinds of personalities, grind them down into nothing, and then rebuild them in what they want them to be, right? So they do that very, very effectively, right? It sucks. I remember I went through different, like 3 times. I was prior Navy. That sucked. Then I decided the Army needed me, so I went again. But I said that, right? So I went through the other boot camp, and I was like, oh my God, like, I have to do this again. And then OCS started, and the same thing restarted again for the 3rd time. I'm like, as much as I hate this, I'm surprised how often I come back to it. God really did have a plan.
Yes. Come on, man.
Because what we have pulled together, you see, I don't know everything. I don't know a lot of things, but what I did was I assembled a team. I have an incredible wife who upholds me at home, who pours into me, right? I assembled an incredible team, and that team began to carry the areas that I didn't have strength in. Areas that I actually didn't even want to grow in. Like, I don't like yelling at dudes. I let Sergeant Major with his booming voice do that. I don't like yelling at them. I'm the mentor type. I love when the dudes, right? I'll speak truth, right? In that military tone that you may be seeing or hearing, right? Some people are like, simmer down. You're scaring the parents. Forgive me. I speak with the passion.
That's right.
I speak with the passion because God began to burn something very, very real in here, and it's not about to go out. It's only burning harder. So I want to really go out with this. I want to help you understand where this is going and how it's happening. You see, when they go through this training, it doesn't end here. Sure, we're not going to hold anybody. If they decide to, like, that was awesome, I'm going to go on and I'm going to do great things in life, by all means, God bless. You will always know where your brothers are at. But if they choose to stay, this is not a recruiting call to pull you out of a church, by the way. Because we're not starting one, remember? You see, initially when we proposed this to many churches in our community, they're like, "Ooh, easy." No. They said it softer, but that was basically no. What we are doing is we're welcoming them into the mission field. So we're a logistical organization that teaches young men and women how to go into the mission field. And here's how it happens. After they go through this training, and they stand here, next time they won't faint because we won't hold them here as long. But after they go through this training, they go through this portion of it specifically. They get placed into teams. They all get ranked in different ways. Rank, that's another very incredible thing the military did well. Heaven did it, military copied, right? Like, that's just how it works. And so we utilize rank as an opportunity for them to gauge their growth and then to grow at the next level. So you see, the first thing we do is we help them clean up all those rough edges, right? All those rough edges. And it doesn't all happen overnight. Like, have grace. Have grace on them, have grace on us, have grace on yourselves. Be more forgiving. So we help them do that one thing that held them back from a future better self. You see, when they had a terrible posture, no one wants to hire that. No one wants to do business with someone that has terrible posture. You know that. So when we help them have better posture, we're actually helping them get that next business deal when they start that business. When they have stronger posture, then they don't have to cower and run into or walk into a situation kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to be accepted. They just storm into the place. Hello, my name is Andrey. How are you?
Yeah.
This is the little kinds of things. So when they're climbing over that Jacob's ladder and they're having a difficulty and they're like, crying, right? Talking struggling. Or they're like under like absolute pressure. They're struggling and they're in pain, but they need to do this thing and they can't quit. They can't fail their team. What we're actually doing is when they don't want to do that next thing that would propel them into that next level in life, we're actually helping them break off that fear that held them in prison, which is right here. You see, that's what's actually happening. We're breaking them out of a prison. We're partnering with you, the parents, and we're helping them become bolder. Because see, when my man Sonny right there, right? That's straight fire right there. When my man Sonny speaks into them and he helps them with this boldness on the spirit, in a spiritual realm, right? With the identity in spiritual realm. When he says, this is how you go and speak to a person and invite them into a life with Jesus. I was like, whoa. You hang out with a guy like that, you begin to breathe, and lives begin to change everywhere. That man is a hurricane. But see, if I have fear, then I will never walk up to anyone. When I have these little complications, they seem little, but they actually limit me from what I need to do next in life. So now they finish this, then they get into these teams, right? So we teach them how to, one, lead yourself. The next thing is at the next level, we actually teach you then how to lead a team. Because see, then you gain more responsibility, you physically become stronger, you go to the next level, now you're leading a team. You're responsible for others. You would be surprised when you put the responsibility on young men and women, when you put them into positions of leadership, you see their demeanor change. Like, whoa, I've never been given this responsibility before, but here I am. And I need to get my team to my level and then get out of their way so they can keep going further. That's how we train. At the next level, now that they can lead a team, because see, really what we're doing is we're preparing them to lead a family. Because when they become responsible for others, it changes everything. It's not this selfish, petty, annoying human being that calls himself a male or a man, right? A male. That's what's actually changing. Because once they get to that level, then we give them a territory. We give them a territory because we assign them the roughest part of this community. They begin to work in teams, right? They work in teams, they work in squads. We give them a territory in our community. Here's what they do, 4 things. They do 4 things in this community. Here's how lives actually change. I don't need to disciple them for 1 year to then later put them in the streets and like, who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? You see, the second they go through this training, we throw them into the streets. Because that's where the real growth happens. And here's what it looks like. They knock on the door. Their assignment is to between such and such street, they get this box, right? And so they as a team, they as a squad, different group sizes, they knock on doors, they say, this is who we are, here's what we're doing in your neighborhood.
That's right.
We want you to know that we're restoring, we're cleaning your neighborhood. So they're simultaneously, as they're introducing themselves, house to house to house, they're picking up trash. And some evangelists in the past have said, how are you saving people? They're like, how are you saving people? Picking up trash. Like, how does that save people? I say, hang on, let me tell you further. And then we go, and then we also remove graffiti. They're like, how do you save people by removing graffiti? Well, for one, it's God's city. Like, if it's my God's city, then it better look like it. I mean, I'm just going to say that. But it still doesn't save people. And then when they find abandoned and neglected yards, they figure out why, and then they help that person. If it's a hoarder, we don't run into those. We've tried to help hoarders in the past. They hang on to everything. I don't want to fight someone to throw their stuff away. All right? So we don't, we have discernment. But if it's a single mother who has fallen on hard times, but if it's an elderly person that has fallen on hard times and she is fallen ill and her neighbors don't have compassion and they're calling code enforcement on her, they're harassing her, they're sending her hate mail, they're saying all kinds of rude things to her, right? She's crumbling under the weight of many different facets that are already happening. What our youth do is they respond. They clean their yard. They get that situation figured out. We have so many abundant resources in our city. We can feed so many people in our city. We don't have to go and ask money for food. We already have access to food, from food banks and all kinds of stuff. If it's a food issue, we'll solve it. If it's a vehicle issue, we'll solve it. If it's a leaky roof, we'll solve it. Because we have so many incredible business owners who are like, hey, sign me up. I want to fix the roof once a month. We have car dealers that want to donate cars. They're like, who do I give it to?
Come on, bro.
Do you understand that it's not a resource problem? It's a logistical problem that we, the church, just haven't delivered. You see, but even that doesn't save the family. What we do is we do the very thing that we've neglected. We've neglected to build relationships. Because see, when we build relationships with the city, I don't need to get everybody to sign up to vote this political party. Right? Voting is good, right? Voting is awesome. Please do so. But see, when I begin to build relationships, no one can outvote that. Because see, when we establish a relationship with a son or daughter,
Let's go.
what we have is access into the entire family, and we say we love you. We say we love you, right? We have sent our boys, and we have seen the kind of numbers. we have seen grandmothers and grandfathers, mostly grandmothers for some reason, and single moms, right? They're like, can my daughter come with you guys? Can my son? 2 minutes talking, 2 minutes in the neighborhood. Where's simply picking up trash?
Yeah.
Can my son and daughter come with you? Can my son come with you?